Good morning, party people, and welcome to the first episode of the Reeants Podcast, where I like to talk about things that interest me. As I said, this is episode number 1, and I'm your host, Reean, and this episode is about holding grudges. Just a disclaimer before I start today's episode, I'm not an expert in psychology at all, or therapy, for that matter. This podcast is a place to just talk about my thoughts and opinions on a topic to my platform. Nothing I state is fact unless I cite some evidence or list some references down, so please be aware that this segment is merely opinion-based. Before we dive in, I do want to shout out my friend Jahai for making my thumbnail. Even though it was made back in February, it's still fitting to my podcast because this is Reeants. This is where Rian rants. You can find him at _Jaho on Instagram. Please go show him some love. He's the one that made the thumbnail. So be like, oh, you're so talented. Alright, so let's get into it. I have my script right here, so if you see me looking at my laptop, that's where I'm looking. Alright, holding on to something that happened months ago, maybe even years, and still feeling hurt and betrayed by someone close to you is something so many of us go through. But why is letting that go so difficult? Even if that person has changed, and even if we know that they didn't mean to hurt us, why is it so hard to move on? So let's start by breaking it down. What really is a grudge? To me, a grudge is like a quiet little box of pain you store away in the back of your mind, but it's always there and it's never really gone. It's remembering how someone made you feel and choosing not to forget it. Obviously, you can't. You have no choice. It's always in the back of your mind. It's not just to protect yourself, I think. It's because that pain is so unresolved that you don't know what to do with it, or you don't know how to get out of that mindset or forgive that person. And sometimes you don't even know if you're holding a grudge. It can show up as like avoiding someone but not knowing why, or telling yourself that you're over a situation when you still have resentment towards a different person or the person that did you wrong. So why do we hold grudges? Here's what I think. I think that it's a form of like self-protection. If you're not vulnerable with someone, they can't hurt you again. So I feel like that's why some people decide that they need to hold a grudge, or that they should hold a grudge, even though that they're not actively thinking about it. They're like, oh, this person hurt me once, I'm never gonna let them near me ever again. I also think it's about like feeling that you're in control of something. If you're holding a grudge on someone, you have that control over them by not talking to them or not contacting them or just leaving them where they are because they hurt you in the past, and that's the only reasonable thing that you can do instead of like communicate that you're hurt by that said person. I also think that it's about the lack of closure. So you might still be waiting for an apology from someone, but you don't want to ask for it, or you don't want to communicate that you need that apology from someone. So you just think that it's best to let it go and like just hold that grudge against someone for not giving you an apology when they should have read your mind. Or something even worse is when you do get the apology, but it doesn't feel sincere, or it doesn't feel real. So what's the cost? Let's talk about what the cost is of holding a grudge. It doesn't always protect you. That's what I've learned from my past. It doesn't always protect you. Sometimes it goes against you. You can be keeping your distance from someone that hurt you, but if every time you think about that person, or your mood shifts, or someone brings them up, and you're just completely like your whole vibe gets thrown off, then who actually is in control of that? Who's actually in control of your emotions, or who are you giving your power to? It's not you. Let me say that. In my opinion, I don't think that if your body tenses up or you feel uncomfortable every time someone brings them up in a conversation, I don't think that you have the power in that situation, because you feel the need to, you have that like fight or flight emotion where you hear something and it's like, okay, I need to like either get out of this situation, I need to get out of this conversation, let's switch the conversation into something that I really want to talk about, or something that isn't this topic. I don't think that you're not in control in that situation. I think that the mentality of holding a grudge is like protecting your peace, and I don't necessarily think that that's a wrong thing. Of course, like I'm a person that always protects their peace, not until recently at least, but I try to protect my peace as much as I can. So holding grudges isn't something that I try to do intentionally. It's something that I used to do unintentionally. So I found that holding a grudge against someone, or like purposely avoiding someone, can like drain your peace, affect new relationships, and keep you emotionally stuck in a moment that already passed. I personally think that when I was in a previous relationship, I definitely held a grudge against another person that wasn't in the relationship. But now that I'm trying to focus more on self-care and mental health, I found that to be very draining towards me. I don't think that I had moved on from a moment that happened with that said person and kept my life moving after that, because I was so stuck in that moment that I couldn't just get away from it. Like, it kept replaying over and over and over and over in my head, that every time I heard that person's name, or someone or someone having the same name as this person, I felt like I was back in that moment, where it kind of dented a piece of my brain to remembering, if that makes any sense. I feel like I'm just rambling at this moment, but I don't. Like, someone's gonna get me out there. But yeah, let's be honest. Like, some people aren't even thinking about you, and you're thinking about a moment that they probably didn't even know affected you in that moment. So, anyways. And I'm not saying that you should immediately forgive someone for doing you wrong. I think that forgiveness has its steps, as anything does when it comes to mental health. It doesn't mean that you have to go back to being friends. It doesn't mean that you're weak or fake, or it doesn't mean that you need to forget what has happened. It just means that you're choosing not to let the moment affect you as it did in the past. It's about letting yourself be in control of your emotions and the energy that you put out to people and their actions. And I think that sometimes forgiveness is quiet. It doesn't have to be said out loud. It doesn't have to have an emotional conversation with that other person. It could be forgiveness could be quiet. You could say to yourself, okay, this moment affected me at the time, and it affected me a few weeks or maybe even months after that time, but I'm not gonna let this situation hold me down from growing into a better person, when I could be living my life out there. But now I'm here, I'm stuck here reliving a moment that the other person probably doesn't even know happened. It's a decision you make for yourself without anyone knowing but you. You can forgive someone without telling that person, but you know deep in your heart that that situation won't affect you anymore. Now, you might be asking, how do you let go of a grudge? If you're talking about how grudges are so terrible for you and your mental health, how do you let go of a grudge? it's not that simple. It's definitely something that you have to acclimate into. Acclimate. You know what I mean? Like, it's like if you're holding a grudge right now, these are ways that I found to be a little bit helpful for me. You don't necessarily have to go through all of these steps just because everyone moves at a different pace and everyone has different things that they go through or different ways that they cope with these things. So this is all suggestion. Like, I'm not telling you have to do this in order to, no. I'm telling you, like, this is how I came through all of the grudges and all of the forgiveness that I needed to do in order to grow as a person. So, number 1, name the hurt. Don't brush it off. Be honest with yourself about what really happened. Look at it from an outside perspective, but also take your feelings into account and how you felt during the situation. 2, write it out. You don't have to send a message. You don't have to text anyone. You don't even have to talk to anyone. Sometimes you just need to get the emotion out of your head and into words, or maybe even record yourself rambling and talking about the situation, but you don't have to necessarily send it to someone. Stop chasing for closure. Sometimes the closure is you realizing you won't get the closure. I am a victim to this, okay, just as the next person, but all I'm saying is that if you keep chasing for closure and you're not getting it, there's a reason. Just stop. And then ask yourself, is this grudge helping me grow? Or is it keeping me stuck in a situation where it keeps happening and I keep getting hurt? Number 4, ask yourself, is this helping me grow or is it keeping me stuck? If it's keeping you stuck, do these over and over again until you let it go. It's so much easier said than done, but I promise you, once you let it go and once you stop holding grudges against people that probably don't even think about you as often as you think about them, it feels like so much weight is lifted off of your shoulders that you start to question why you even held a grudge in the first place. Why am I letting someone's actions or emotions dictate how I feel in my everyday life? It's not their life. It's not their life. It's my life. You know what I mean? And number 5. I think this is the most important step when it comes to letting go. Be gentle with yourself. Don't be so harsh. Letting go is so difficult. Some days you feel like, this is the best day ever. I don't need anyone. I'm so over that situation. And then sometimes it'll sneak back up to you. You're just like, oh, I thought I was healed, but I'm really not. And that's okay. Healing is not linear. That's what I tell myself all the time. That's what I tell my friends who need the advice. Healing is not linear, and you need to learn how to forgive yourself in times where you feel the most vulnerable. I feel like holding grudges is something that we all do. Some of us call it boundaries or remembering what another person did to us, but deep down, I think that it's about unresolved emotions. But the truth is, you deserve peace more than you deserve revenge. You deserve clarity more than closure. And you deserve to grow, even if the apology never comes. So I'll leave you with this. Do you feel as though your grudges are necessary? And what would it feel like to set it down? That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be in this corner of my room every other Wednesday, so please stay tuned for the next episode where we'll be talking about something else. Bye!